So nothing is new about the SRAM Maven brakes. They've been around for a while now, but they are new to me. And for last month, I've been testing them and riding them on my Levo 4 Pro. And I've never been stoked about brakes before, which is strange because they're actually the most important part of any bike fundamentally. But I think for that reason, I take them for granted. Anyway, I am stoked about these brakes, and this review really is to kind of explain why I'm so pumped about them, because they are insanely powerful. I don't think that's a spoiler alert in that sense, but it's got me thinking. I think they are certainly good for some riders and some types of bike, but actually maybe not so good for some riders or some other types of bikes because they're so powerful. Anyway, these are my thoughts. Watch the video. I'm going to break it down. Let's go. First thing I want to talk about, riders, lever feel, as in squeezing it. And it's interesting with these, so I've had codes on my other bikes and Shimano XT on one of my bikes. Never really chosen bikes for brakes, they're just the brakes that came with the bike and I've just made the most of them. Always thought codes were good brakes, but actually this is where it comes down to lever feel. So compared to certainly a code, these have got a stiffer lever feel, so the force to actually just pull them back actually feels a little bit maybe heavier than on like a code or certainly Shimano XT on my other bike. But what's interesting is it's the same amount of force, it's completely linear, and then they're locked out. That I don't need any more force, and that is absolutely, that is fully biting on the rear rotor there. Whereas the thing with codes, as much as I really like that sort of modular feeling, I've definitely had it on codes where I've been squeezing with everything I've got, and it only feels like it's then that they're sort of biting. So on a code, it's probably lighter just to actually sort of actuate it and sort of get it there. But the feel of the lever, like on this, that is, you don't need any more force to really, that is fully locked out. Whereas on a code, there'd be more, I'd be squeezing even harder to get it back, that bit further. Only in rare situations when you're going that fast, it kind of, that can, I wouldn't say it's that often, but there are times when the codes have maybe felt a bit overwhelmed by the speed. Got to mention the design of these brakes, just because you do notice it. They are, well, you can't not notice them. So unlike some brakes that are maybe a bit stealth, these, even though these are black, which I think are quite nice, they are big blocks and big sort of, the calipers are huge as well. So these are very, they're almost a bit sort of motorbike sort of feeling in size. They're proper big levers. I do like on this almost feels a bit sort of wider than maybe a Code or an XT. So that, I actually like that, because if you've got hands of ham or anyway, but I like the fact the lever seems to have a bit more width to it for gripping. But you're not going to not notice them. And if you like your brake stealth, maybe these aren't the ones because they stand out quite a bit, I think. But the other thing is because of the design, and how they hug the bars, you may find there's not as much compatibility to run other non-SRAM stuff, like Shimano group shifters, or where you can run them on your bars is restricted because you can't get much between there and there effectively. But I actually like the design. I think they're cool. I think they stand out. But you're not going to miss them. That's all I'm going to say. I'm used to codes, and I have to say codes seem to me to be so reliable. Like I'm not very good at keeping on top of my bleeding or lubricating pistons, and they just always seem to work. Bad weather, good weather, dust, snow, they've worked in everything for me. So I'm impressed with the reliability. I'm assuming, even though it's now mineral fluid rather than dot oil, sorry, mineral oil versus dot oil, that these are going to be, certainly in the month I've had them, they've been working pretty much perfectly. The rotors run quite close to the disc, so I've just had a bit of disc rub that I've had to spend a few minutes on, but you know, I'm not complaining about that. So I'm hoping they'll be reliable if they're similar to codes, and they're certainly, everything in the first month suggests, you know, they're good. I haven't had any pressurization. They've just been good from the, but I have been riding the bike every day, so it's not like I've left it for like 2 weeks and then, you know, and they've been spongy or whatever. So, but anyway, yeah, so far, so good. So I've been riding these for a month now, pretty much, and on a 24 kilo e-bike, and it has got me thinking, because they're just, I've never had brakes so powerful. That's just, you know, they are definitely way more powerful than codes. There is still the modulation as well, though. They feel kind of like motocross, motorbike, the power. They just lock. So I'm really impressed by that. And I actually think on like a heavy bike, that makes sense, because there have been times, certainly, the braking on like a heavier bike, you know, I think it makes sense to have that extra power when you need it. As then I was thinking, actually, if you're like a heavier rider, even if it isn't an e-bike, that's where you may appreciate the Mavens over the codes, or, you know, going for that extra stopping power. But I would say I want these on my downhill bike, because definitely I've just got codes on those. So definitely on my DH bike I would like, because of the speed. But on my trail bike, which is like 14 kilos, I think they'd be too much. I don't think, I'd like to try it, but I think that'd be too much for me, if you know what I mean. The codes I have are actually way, they feel so strong on that trail bike. So I don't know, that sort of weight element. And similar, if you're a lighter rider, even if you're on a downhill bike, maybe you might find, again, they're just that bit too much powerful, because it's really noticeable, and they take a bit getting used to, compared to, you know, sort of other, you know, if you just, yeah, you got to rush it, you got to try them, but you'll see what I mean. You can't just sort of go from these to codes. There's a little bit of like, oh yeah, my fingers have to work a bit different, if you see what I mean. Well, riders, this is where the video grinds to a halt. Thank you for watching. My thoughts on the Maven, I can't hide. I'm so impressed, super stoked by brakes for the first time. Should have been more stoked about them previously though, but anyway, that's a different topic. Any comments, let me know. Anyone looking at the Mavens, hope this helps. Until next week, thanks for watching. Ride your bike, yo.
Oh, the Mavens controlled that so well. Oh, Mavens, fair play to you. You made that chill.